Hey friends, welcome back to Hopeful and Wholesome. I am bringing you a second episode this month to kick us off into this new year and leading us into the year of the horse, which begins February 17th. If you haven't listened to the other episode from last week, they don't necessarily build on each other, but I do give kind of a deeper look into what the energy of the year of the snake that we're leaving behind in 2025 and the energy of the year of the horse you're stepping into in 2026. And I wanted to bring you these two episodes. The last one I talked about energy leaks in open centers. And so I wanted the theme of both of these two episodes to be about the open centers, because I find that the energy of the open centers and the sometimes unstable energy or lack of trust in these open energy centers can be what holds us back from kind of moving into the next level or to that expansion that we're looking for. I want this episode to be kind of a continuation of the last one and talking about managing overwhelm in these open centers and different strategies and ways of thinking and being for energy protection, for healing, for restoring capacity, rebuilding trust, and really moving forward in the energy of the year of the horse and this kind of momentum new start that we're getting in the new year. So why does overwhelm show up when we're kind of on this verge of expansion? And that's something we experience a lot. And a lot of times this can hold us back from the expansion that we're looking for. This kind of next level of personal growth, this next level of expansion of whether it's our business, of ourselves, of our relationships, is kind of that next level growth. And sometimes we feel like, oh, this overwhelm is happening, so something must be wrong. But really, it's just really your system sensing this movement. Like your nervous system is already bracing. It's already getting ready because it can already feel there's discomfort coming. It's usually when there's expansion, there's a discomfort that's involved. And so the year of the snake taught your body how to slow down, how to observe, how to release, how to recognize these patterns and things that no longer serve us as we're moving forward towards that expansion. And the year of the horse, this energy that we're bringing into the year that starts February 17th, invites us into motion and forward momentum and expression. And this is where a lot of women feel stuck and get stuck, is because the desire is there. So often the clarity is there, but your body is hesitating and you feel hesitation in the body. And we feel it oftentimes as overwhelm and we see it as resistance, but really it's just this signal that capacity needs to be restored before movement can become sustainable. Your body is asking for more capacity. It's asking for more safety so that we can hold that movement that's coming and it can become sustainable. And that's really the year of the horse. And I mentioned this in the last episode. If you think about a horse, I have this visual. I've seen this visual on Instagram on a few different pages of a horse running down the beach. And that's really the image I have in my head of what the energy of the next year. It's that forward momentum. It's carrying with us. It's like this carefree forward momentum, like I'm just moving forward. And that's really what the expansion is asking of us. And so I want this episode to be about learning how to protect and replenish your energy, especially if you have open or undefined centers that naturally just feel more, absorb more, and adapt more. I talked about adaptation in that last episode. As I said in the last episode, go look at your chart first. Make sure you know where your open centers are, open or undefined centers are, before we get too deep in this, just so you know, because I'm going to go through some of the centers in just a second. So why do open centers feel overwhelmed first? These are exquisitely sensitive centers, especially when they're open. Undefined, yes, we're open, meaning you have no other gates defined. They're completely open. There is so much sensitivity here. As I said previously, and I've said multiple times before, this is not good or bad. It just is. There's no not good or bad whether you have open or undefined centers. It just is. These open or undefined centers are designed to take in information. They're designed to feel the environment, and they're designed to learn through experience and through the deconditioning process. But sensitivity, when we have sensitivity in these, naturally we have more sensitivity in these centers because they're taking in so much. The sensitivity without the support can become overload and overwhelm. And that's why these centers feel overwhelmed first. So when your nervous system is taxed, when your physical body, your minerals are depleted, and your body doesn't feel resourced, your open centers stop being these sort of wise observers and kind of taking in the environment. And they start becoming these really vulnerable entry points for overwhelm. And rather than thinking that we have to let's just go fix it. It's just something to support. We have to support our undefined centers. We have to support these sensitive centers. And that's what I want this to be about. Let's go. I want to go through the 9 centers here and just notice which one resonates. This isn't really a place for you to necessarily diagnose yourself, but I want you just to feel which one resonates, where you might feel the overwhelm in these centers. And I'm going to start from the bottom in your root. So if you have an undefined root or an open root, this is that center for pressure and urgency. So the overwhelm here is going to feel like constant stress, this constant feeling of being behind, feeling behind, needing pressure to function. And as I mentioned in the previous episode, oftentimes we get so caught up in this pattern that it's such a subconscious thing. It's the people who say like, oh, I thrive more. The people who procrastinate, I thrive more under pressure. Like that's a good thing to brag about. And it's really not. This is a trauma response because you need the pressure to function. That's the overwhelm, the pressure and the urgency. These are not ideal things. These are not things you want. These are not sustainable things. So you might notice when you're feeling those feelings of overwhelm in the center, you have a difficulty slowing down or even stopping, restlessness, anxiety around time. Like there's never enough time. I'm running out of time. There's never enough time. It's this constant rushing and pushing and forcing. And this, again, a lot of times this becomes a totally subconscious thing and it's just the way you operate. Your running day. I say that because I've been there. And that was really the cause of a lot of my burnout and how I almost completely I did really completely wreck my adrenals and had to rebuild them from the ground up. It's this constant rushing to do the next thing. There's no downtime. There's no off time. It's hard to turn it off. It's hard to turn yourself off. It's hard to turn your mind off. It's just like it never slows down. It's this constant urgency. And so this center settles when urgency is no longer mistaken for momentum. Because again, as I said, this becomes this pattern in the way you just operate is you see urgency as momentum. You see kind of the restlessness and the anxiety around time as momentum. I can't stop her. Everything is going to fall to the ground or I'm going to lose my momentum or I'm going to slow down. Not understanding that really for growth and expansion, sustainable growth and expansion, you have to slow down to speed up. And for those of us who feeling the overwhelm in this center, that's a really hard concept to grasp. And so I'm going to say this again. This center, your root center, settles when the urgency is no longer mistaken for momentum. That's a really important one to take with you. So let's move to your sacral, up to your undefined or open sacral. This is the center where energy burnout happens. Remember, this is kind of your generator. So those who are generator types, generators and mani-gens, you have this defined. If you are not a generator type, you have it open or undefined. So overwhelm here feels like borrowed energy highs. Like you literally have to borrow energy to keep going. It can feel like deep crashes. It can feel like difficulty knowing when to stop. So the root center is the center really for like starting things and initiating things. The sacral center is that staying power to keep things going. And so it's when the overwhelm hits the center, it's difficulty knowing when to stop and when enough is enough. So you might notice that you feel energized around other people and depleted when you're alone. Like you only feel energized when you're around other people because you're borrowing their energy, but then you completely crash when you're alone or by yourself. You might notice that you say yes just because you can and not because you really have the capacity to, or not because you should, right? Should and can are two different things. Or just losing touch with your true capacity, like just losing sense of all boundaries. Boundaries are a really important part of really well-functioning sacral center. And so when you lose touch with your true capacity, you've lost all sense of boundaries, energetic boundaries, physical boundaries, time boundaries, emotional boundaries, all of those things, because you've lost touch with yourself from that center. This is your center for life force energy and creativity and sexuality and your expression. So this is a huge hit to your life force energy, how that life force energy is flowing through your body. This center recovers when rest and boundaries become non-negotiable. That's the key to creating balance back in the center, when rest and boundaries become non-negotiable. All right, so let's move over to your solar plexus. So this is your emotional center. And if you have this open or undefined, emotional overwhelm is what typically how it shows up as overwhelm in the body. So it might feel like emotional flooding. It's like super high highs, super low lows. You're just feeling it, but like not in a stable, healthy way. Mood swings. It might feel like mood swings. You're up and you're down and you're up and it might feel almost like manic energy, right? Like your emotions are like all over the place. It also might look like avoidance of conflict or confrontation or hard conversations because you don't know if you can handle it, right? Because you're already feeling overwhelmed. So you might notice that you feel emotions without really knowing why. Like you're super emotional and you're like, is it my hormones? Is it my, like you blame it on, this is what we blame it on, when really it's just an overwhelmed solar plexus. You might notice that you need space after interactions because you've taken in so much energy from other people. They're like, man, I really need to I need space. Like nobody talk to me, nobody be around me. You can't handle other people being in your energy field or your aura because you've taken on from so many people. You also might notice that you're managing other people's feelings, feeling responsible for them. This is creating that emotional overwhelm. So this center can balance and clear when emotions are allowed to move without being owned. Like I don't have to own these emotions and take ownership of these without allowing them to move through me. And that's a really important practice. So moving to the spleen, if you have the center undefined or open, this is going to feel like a safety overwhelm. So that center for safety. So overwhelm here might feel like, I talked about this in the last episode. I feel like I went pretty deep into this last episode because so often when we have energy leaks or we're feeling that overwhelm from the spleen, it can feel like holding on to things or fear of letting go of things that are no longer serving us and staying with what's familiar versus what's actually good for us or what's going to serve us. So the holding on, the fear of letting go, the staying with what's familiar is all just this safety overwhelm because it's you just being uncertain and not being able to discern what your intuition is saying about what's safe for you and what's not, what is okay, like when it's okay to get out of your comfort zone, to step out of what's familiar. So you might notice that you have difficulty releasing old patterns, old relationships, old ways of doing and being. You might feel like you've been ignoring these intuitive nudges or maybe not even being able to hear them or discern them. Or you might find yourself confusing familiarity with safety because those things are not always equal, right? Those things are not always the same thing. Familiarity doesn't necessarily mean safety, which is why you can have people I always use this as an example because I feel like it's one of the best ways to understand it. You can have people being in extremely toxic relationships or violent, abusive relationships. And you're like, why doesn't she just leave? Because it's familiar. It doesn't mean it's safe, but it's familiar. This center, your spleen, relaxes when the body learns that release can be safe and that what's familiar is okay to be released and that it's safe to release old patterns and ways of being. That's when this center can relax and we can let go of the overwhelm. The overwhelm is coming from just that conflicting energy that's happening in that center. That's like, is this safe? Is it not? Do I let it go? Do I keep it? It's that overwhelm. We can let go of that when the body learns that release can be safe. All right, let's move up to the heart or the ego center. So this is that center for worthiness, right? So this is where that kind of worthiness overwhelm can show up. So this can feel like feeling the need to prove or perform. It might look like overcommitting. It might look like difficulty resting without guilt, feeling like I have to keep doing and performing to prove that I'm worthy. You might notice that you're tying your value to productivity. We've talked about that so much on the show, tying your output to your worth, to your value. You might notice that you're saying yes to feel secure. Like that makes me feel safe, secure because I said yes, because now I can prove that I can do it. That again, it's still performative. It's still proving. It might also look like you're pushing past your boundaries, pushing past your exhaustion to feel worthy. You're pushing too hard. And this ends up translating to how your root center is operating and your sacral center is operating. Like these all end up being tied in together. So this center can relax and soften when your worth is no longer measured by your output. And this one is huge. I find that this one becomes so entangled in so many other centers, this worthiness piece. And so often when I'm working with women where this is really showing up, it's not always showing up physically with what's connected to the heart center. It's showing up in their adrenals. It's showing up in the reproductive organs, which are attached to the sacral, because this worthiness piece is affecting how you're doing this pressure to do, right? Which is your root center. It's affecting your creativity and your life force. That's your sacral center, the knowing when to stop, that generator center. It's affecting how you're speaking your truth. It's affecting your throat center, which we'll get to in a second. So it's affecting your thyroid. Hey, y'all, we'll get right back to the episode. But first, let me ask you this. You've built a vision that others admire. and you've built something that you're really proud of. But behind the scenes, your body feels like it's lagging behind. It just can't quite catch up to your brilliance and your mission that you have. That late night second wind, the foggy mornings, the hormone shifts, the endless push and forcing. You can't strategize your way out of that. And you already know you don't need more supplements. You don't need another supplement stack. You also don't need another side hustle disguised as self-care, because nobody wants to have their health as a side hustle. This is about recalibrating your entire ecosystem. And that's why I created the Quantum Reset, a premium 3-month high-touch healing experience for visionary women who are ready to feel as powerful in their bodies as they do in their business. Inside, we decode your nervous system, your minerals, your hormones. We read your labs like the sacred text that it is, so we have actual answers. And then we pair that with deep energetic recalibration, subconscious release. We use gene keys, we use human design, and true embodied healing. This isn't about fixing burnout, because that's not what we're doing here. This is about becoming the woman whose body is powerful, whose body is completely electric, whose energy, clarity, radiance finally matches the size of her mission. If you know your success isn't meant to cost you your vitality, and you're ready for a science-backed, spirit-led reset, then the Quantum Reset is your invitation. So check the link in the show notes or send me a message on Instagram, and let's bring your body back online with your brilliance. Now, let's get back to the show. I feel like this one can be so complicated or complex because it is tied to so many things. This worthiness piece is like this spider web with all these other parts attached to it. And so if you can really hone in on this and focus on what I was saying, that softening that happens in this center when your worth is no longer measured by your output, so many other pieces of this web can also like detach themselves. This one is a big one. So now I want to move up to the G center. This is your center for kind of self-identity and direction. But it looks like the overwhelm here looks kind of like directional overwhelm. So it can feel like identity confusion, like I don't really know who I am. It could also be like losing yourself in roles, which I mentioned in the previous episode, where you lose yourself. Your whole identity is tied up in the role of fill in the blank, whether it's your role of entrepreneur, coach, corporate woman, mom, wife, sister, partner, whatever it is. You lose yourself in your roles and you have no identity outside of that role. It might look like questioning your path when you're surrounded by other people. Like, I feel like I have this firm grip of my path and my identity, but then when you're around other people, you're taking in all of their stuff, especially if they have a defined G center. And so then you start to question, maybe that's not what I want to do. Maybe that's not me. So you might notice that you feel clear and even certain when you're alone, but you start to lose that certainty or feel disoriented when you're in groups or around other people. Again, especially if they have that center defined. You might feel like you're changing your desires based on your environment or based on who you're with. It becomes this kind of fickle, back and forth, kind of flaky thing. You might feel like this longing to come back to yourself, to quote unquote, come back to yourself. Like in this, for me, this is the biggest piece for the center. If you have an open or undefined G center and you're feeling this long, for me, that's your intuition, your soul telling you like there's a piece of yourself that you haven't accepted yet, or you haven't stepped into yet, or you haven't really embodied yet, because it's that intuition, that soul telling you like, yes, come back to yourself, come back to yourself. So if you have that longing, there's some overwhelm happening in this particular center. And so this center can balance and recalibrate when you have stable environments, when the boundary thing, I feel like applies to the center as well. And it might be something where you have to set really firm boundaries about your environment and the people that you're with. And so you can really get back to that stable, recalibrated energy from the center so that it's not causing you to kind of wobble or waver, right? And the other thing is just this self-reference, like this deep self-trust and going back into yourself rather than outsourcing your direction, your identity. It's that deep inner work of going within yourself, that idea of, quote, coming back to yourself, like I just mentioned, like that's really where that center recalibrates. When it can do the work and put the effort and intention into, quote, coming back to myself and building that deep self-trust so that you can trust the identity, the direction, all that. And you don't have to, you're not taking in what everybody else's energy is saying. So let's move up to the throat center. So when you have an open or undefined throat, it's this pressure to perform or to express. And so the overwhelm here might feel like a pressure to speak, a pressure to over-explain. It might feel like you're not seen or you're invisible unless you're quote unquote on. Like I have to be on, I have to be big and loud or I'm not seen. And it's kind of overdoing. And there's nothing wrong with being big or being loud, but it's in a performative way. It's right. It's the energy that you're doing it in. So it's this energy of performing. So you might notice that if you're feeling overwhelmed in this center, you talk to fill up space. Like the silence makes you feel like, oh, I'm not seen. I'm falling into the ethers, right? So you have to talk to fill up the space. You might notice that you're justifying your rest or justifying your boundaries or justifying why you're saying what you're saying. You might notice that you might feel drained after being seen. The visibility is actually draining to you. And really, it goes back to because if it's in that performative energy, it's going to be draining because you're not meant to perform. You don't have to perform. You're not supposed to perform. Supposed to, I use that word lightly, but you know what I'm saying. And so the undefined or open throat, the overwhelm and the open or undefined throat thinks that it needs more output, but really it just needs alignment. And it oftentimes, I'm going to say this again, it goes back to, especially if you have an undefined or open heart center and you have this throat center undefined. These two things can go so closely together because we feel like we have to speak, and this pressure to perform and speak is tied to our worthiness. And I will say this too, even if you don't have it undefined or open, that worthiness wound isn't all of this. Like I have my heart center is defined, and I did a whole series about it last year. So that is a big one for women just in general, but it can feel especially deep and especially challenging for those who have it open or undefined. But the worthiness wound, it's in all of us as women. And so when you have your throat center open or undefined, it's going to show up here too. Again, it's kind of that web, that spider web. And so it's really about owning your identity. So going back to what we're talking about identity, owning your identity, owning who you are, it's that confidence and that self-trust and that self-assurance that you have in being who you are and knowing when to speak and when not to speak. I don't have to speak to be seen. I don't have to, but I can, right? I don't have to perform to be seen. I can just be me. I can express how I want to express. I can fill the space how I want to fill the space and not to perform, but to be me and to be fully self-expressed. That's what it looks like. Moving on to the open ajna. So the ajna is, right, it's that third eye center. And this is where the overwhelm is going to come. It's going to come from mental rigidity and doubt. And so the overwhelm here is going to feel like second guessing, overanalyzing, over researching, and having a difficult time really trusting your own perspective and your own opinions and thoughts about things. So you might notice that you need like complete certainty before taking action, or you feel unsafe without a really clear, perfect plan. So this perfectionism thing can kind of come up because like I need this perfect plan before I can move forward with this thing, and it feels really safe unless I have this really clear perfect plan. It might look like tension or confusion around decision making. So analysis paralysis is something that shows up, or feeling like I'm really indecisive. Like there's this tension, this resistance, this constriction around having to make decisions. What if I make the wrong decision, or what if this isn't the right decision? That's what it looks like. So the overwhelm here, man, this is a big one too. Because again, with that spider web image that I keep going back to, this one is tied to so many things. Because if we go, for example, we go back to the worthiness piece of the heart center, right? If you feel like you always have to, be proving yourself, and your worth is tied to your output, well, I have to make, like, it can be connected to what's happening in the ashna too, because I'm constantly second guessing myself. Well, I'm not going to feel worthy if I don't have this perfect clear plan, or I'm not completely certain, like, what's that going to do to help people see me? And am I going to be worthy? Right. And you go to the G center, for example, for direction, and this kind of directional overwhelm I talked about, identity confusion. And that can also tie into this, you're second guessing, and right. So it all ties in together. So with the ajna, and connected to your third eye, it's that deep connection to your third eye. And the energy of this center settles when this idea of flexibility returns. So you're not so rigid in your decision making. You're not so rigid in your way of thinking. And you allow the flexibility to be there. Making a decision, and there might still be some doubt when you make a decision. and being okay with that. It's okay to have some doubt when I'm making a decision. Having a plan, but maybe it's not the perfectly laid out plan. And I can still be okay with that. I'm going to make a decision, but there's a chance this might not be the right decision, and being okay with that. So it's this flexibility. It's letting go of that rigidity and bringing in flexibility. That's when that overwhelm can dissolve. The last one here, moving up to the head center. So the very top. This is mental pressure. So that's where the overwhelm comes from. So it feels like this constant thinking, mental noise, the mental chatter, the head noise, and then feeling responsible for figuring everything out. So you might notice that I have my head is open. So this one is like, this is real life for me. So if you feel like you just constantly have that head chatter, oh my gosh, it can be so overwhelming. And honestly, I think now that I've done so much work on my root center, because I had completely destroyed that. I think this is probably the one that catches me the most, because I don't have a lot of open centers, but I feel like this catches me the most because it's this constant thinking and being in my head and overthinking stuff that's like, and I've had mentors before that are like, okay, like, let's get out of that center. Like, this is just like, it's just like a circus up there. So it's the mental chatter, the mental noise, feeling like you have to have everything figured out. And that's been a big one for me. I'm going to come back to that. But you might notice that you have difficulty resting your mind, like your mind never stops. And I will say this, if you have an undefined root or open root and an open head, this is like, because this is also a pressure center. Both of these are pressure centers. Your root center is a pressure center. Your head center is a pressure center. If you've both of those open like me, this is like, God bless you, because I know this can be a challenge, because not only do you have a difficult time like resting just in general, like, oh, I have to keep doing, but now your mind also doesn't rest. This is like double whammy, and it can be a real challenge. You also might notice that you feel pulled to answer questions that don't belong to you. You're trying to answer everybody else's questions, or you feel this pressure to figure out the right next step. And that's a big one for me. That's what I wanted to go to, because you feel responsible for figuring everything out. And oftentimes you feel like you have to figure everything out before you start, or before you finish, or before you launch something. And it also goes with this pressure to figure out the quote, right next step. And that for me, like letting this piece go has been completely life-changing for me. Now, this is still work in progress because these things still come up, right? Because we're humans. But this one for me, because I think this one held me back so much. And I was in such a pattern of looking like 28 steps ahead rather than just one step ahead, and thinking like, well, I have to get the next one step has to be totally perfect in order for me to get to that 28th step that I'm looking at, like way out there. But the fact is that's not how it works. Like, our job is to just follow the breadcrumbs. It's one step, then the other, one step, then the other. It's one step at a time, because the fact is this next step that you're taking, this next one step, by the time you get to the fourth step, you could be changing directions to get to that 28th step. So the way you're seeing where the 28th step is could look totally different when you get to step 5, 6, or 21. And so the pressure to like figure out the right next step, perfect next step, I always think this too. And a mentor of mine, we had this conversation one time, because this is what always was coming up for me, this figuring out the right next step. There is no wrong step. This is the way I see it. And when she explained this to me, I really felt this in my body. So this is the way I see it. So if this doesn't resonate with you, leave it. But if this sits with you and you're like, this feels like a soul truth to me, then take it with you. I truly believe that there is no wrong next step. Because if we have, as soul-led human beings, divinely guided by the Creator, and we have this vision, and we have the direction, we have the mission that we know, we have these desires in our heart, this soul-led thing that we're here to do. We take a step. I really don't believe there is a wrong next step. Because even if you take a step that might be quote unquote wrong in the moment, it's just maybe taking you a way around. Like maybe you're just taking an extra loop to get back on the path. You're still going the right way. Just maybe you're going a step off to the side and then getting back on the path. But I really feel like if we have the soul vision and we have the soul mission, we have this soul-led thing, that there is no wrong step. So whatever step you take next is going to be the right step, because you're still going in the direction of your mission, of your vision, of your desires. So for me, that helped eliminate so much of that mental pressure, so much of that pressure in my head to try to figure out the right next step. Just thinking, I'm going to take this next step. I'm going to trust that my intuition, God is leading me in the right path, whatever, right step. But even if I take the step and it feels like, this is not right. I'm still going in the right direction. So maybe it might take a little longer. I took like a little detour, but I'm going to get back on the path. The path is the path. There's one path. The one path to my desires, there's one. And there's different side steps we can go, right? But that concept really helped eliminate so much of that mental pressure for me and release so much of the overwhelm I was feeling in this center, in the head center. Because the fact is, this center doesn't need answers, because the answers don't come from your head anyway. Don't come from your head. They come from your body. And so what this center needs is just permission to let the questions pass through without landing. It's one of that same mentor, she used to talk about the head as like a playground. Like let just play around with things up there. We don't have to make decisions up there. Just let the ideas pass through. And then let's go into the body and see what the body has to say. So we can let the questions pass through without landing. That relieves the pressure, the mental pressure to have all the right answers and figure everything out. That's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure. So I hope for you that have an open or undefined head that helps. And even if you don't, I hope that helps. If it feels good, you can adopt that for yourself, and that can be something that you can live with. So that was all the centers here. And listening to all that, you can see how the overwhelm shows up, and maybe you resonate with some of those more than the others. But it's important to know that the overwhelm is emotional, but the overwhelm is also energetic, right? These things go together. It's also biochemical. So it's also affecting you on a physiological level. And minerals, of course, is where I'm going with this, because minerals are the currency that your nervous system uses to respond to life. Our minerals are causing these biochemical reactions in the body. And so when minerals are depleted, your sensitivity increases, your stress tolerance drops, your recovery slows, your emotions are like, wah, 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 like all over the place. So yes, the minerals are affecting you emotionally, energetically. The overwhelm is affecting you emotionally, energetically. It's also affecting you biochemically in the body. And so the big heavy hitters here, magnesium that I always talk about, right? This supports relaxation, emotional processing, your nervous system. This is the calming mineral. So if we are constantly overwhelmed, we're not only depleting our magnesium, but we're also running through it really quickly. So this is going to be something we want to replenish all the time. Sodium and potassium, two other ones. This helps support grounding and adrenal resilience and energy availability, and that electric reaction in the body. These are some of those electrolytes, this electrical chemical reactions that happen between our cells. That's what gives quality that we have about us, our bodies. Calcium patterns, right? This overwhelm can cause calcium buildup in the tissues. And so this can show up as this kind of emotional armoring and can affect how our cells are functioning, what's going in and out of our cells, which affects how our thyroid is functioning, which affects our memory and our brain processing, all of those things. And then there's dozens of other trace minerals that support clarity and stamina and adaptability. And all of these things are impacted by this overwhelm, by this energetic, emotional overwhelm. All of these things are impacted by it. And so this is why seeing that the overwhelm is on all of these multiple levels is why you see that effort alone is not going to restore your energy. Your body needs replenishment, right? We have to replenish what we've depleted, and what we've depleted are our minerals. And so this is why I love, and I'll talk about this a little bit more in just a second, but I love when you're looking at like taking your human design journey and really diving deep into your human design journey. I feel like if nothing else, if you do the HTMA with me, that the mineral testing, this is why I love it, because it really does go so perfectly together with this human design embodiment journey, because it's going to show you where your capacity is low, where your system has been compensating, and then where the restoration and that replenishment is actually going to land in the body. And we can use that along with your human design to replenish and restore, revitalize, all of that. So I'll talk more about that in a second. But the last thing I want to talk about here is this energy protection. And this energy protection that I want to talk about is it's about self-reference. And the snake energy, the protection from snake energy, the energy of the year of the snake was through vigilance, sometimes hypervigilance. And the horse energy, the energy of the year of the horse, is through embodiment. So we've done this protection through vigilance, often hypervigilance, in the previous year. Now we get to step into this embodiment. And that's really what the year of the horse is about. And I mentioned this in the previous episode, but that's a word that's been coming up for me to lead like a theme, one of the themes that will be for me in this new year. It's the embodiment piece. And so here's a few things, how that shift happens. So first, flowing before responding. Let your body register before answering. Noticing your breath, noticing your body. It's the energy of the snake called us to slow down, and you can bring that. Now let's embody that, bring that into this new year. Managing how much overwhelm is going in through our system, we slow before responding. Here's another one. Just let discomfort exist. And I think this one, I feel like this is a big key one, y'all, because we work so hard at getting rid of all the discomfort and just pushing past things, pushing through things just to get to the other side, to avoid the discomfort, rather than just being with the discomfort. The fact is that the discomfort is just part of life. Like a mentor of mine says that you can't sterilize the room. Like you can't prevent yourself from feeling discomfort because we're living a human existence. And so when we avoid the discomfort, we are bypassing so many lessons, emotions, wisdom, and it gets stuck, it gets stored as stuck energy in the body. So the letting the discomfort exist looks like not, quote, fixing emotions immediately, not feeling like you have to fix your emotions immediately, like being with them and just being okay that maybe this doesn't feel so good. And we are really good at labeling emotions as good or bad when emotions just are. Now, there are emotions that are more challenging to be with, and those are the ones we want to just push through. We want to fix, get rid of them. Don't like it. The grief, the anger, the sadness, the disappointment, all of those. Like those aren't necessarily comfortable emotions to be with, but they're there for a reason. And they aren't there to be fixed. They're there to be felt and listened to. So not fixing emotions immediately. And then also allowing pauses and not feeling like I have to rush to the next thing to bypass this thing. Allow the pauses. And then here's another one for you. For my open-centered solar plexus or undefined solar plexus folks out there like me, is letting other people hold their own feelings. You don't have to hold other people's feelings. Now, you can be a safe space for people. You can be with them, but you don't have to hold their feelings. Let other people hold their own feelings. Okay, 2 other things here to shift. Here's one, just moving your body. Gentle movement, walking, breathing, deep breaths, moving your shoulders, somatic dance, whatever it is. But movement can discharge what the awareness uncovers. So a lot of times movement is all we need. And I find that so often. And I'm somebody who, I work out all the time. I have a Pilates and fitness studio. So I'm moving my body all the time. But sometimes for me, it's intentional movement and it's in the moment. Like sometimes I'm feeling like, man, my energy feels like, bleh, like I can't, ugh. And I did that last weekend, actually. Usually on Saturdays, I would get up and I'd go to the gym and then I'd come back and my husband goes because we take turns. So one of us can be home with the kids. And I just felt like I don't want to go to the gym. I want to go for a run. And I'm not somebody, I don't run often much anymore. I run every now and then. It's not something I do all the time. And I just felt like my energy, I just felt this sticky stuckness. It was just a feeling. It's kind of hard to put into words. And so I went for a run. And it was probably less than 10 minutes into the run. And I was like, I already started feeling my energy. Something needed to move. And that's what I did. It just needed to move. So sometimes that moving the body is just discharging things. It's helping your body move things. It's a somatic practice to let things move. So don't underestimate moving the body. It doesn't mean you have to go do a hardcore workout. It doesn't mean you have to go for a run. I'm using that as an example. Moving your body in a way that feels good is going to let things move. Now, last one here is choosing your environments consciously. Because you have undefined open centers, your environment is impacting you greatly and it's going to affect you greatly. So notice where your body expands, who you're with, where you are, where your body expands. Spend less time where contraction is constant. So less time where you're feeling around certain people or places where you feel that contraction and it's like a constant thing. And so this is how we can protect our energy. This is this energy protection without armor. And specifically, we don't want to build up armor. We don't want to build a shell around our open centers or undefined centers. We want to be able to have these energy protection strategies so that we can be self-resourced. That's it, self-referenced, self-resourced. We can be resourced, not have to put up armor and be able to function as a human, as a highly functioning, deeply maybe highly sensitive person, human, and be able to still embody those deepest pieces of us. So the year of the snake that we're leaving, I'm going to leave you with this, taught you how to listen inward. It asked for honesty. It asked for release, for this kind of deep internal clearing, this shedding that we're still in the process of, right? Because it's until February 17th. That phase is wrapping up. So that phase has done its work. It's completing. It's coming to completion. And so the year of the horse, this new year we're stepping into, invites movement, momentum. Now, this doesn't mean that it's rushed or forced. I want to say that too. This is important. So we're not forcing the movement. We're not forcing the momentum. It's just alive. Like that's what's alive. That's the energy that's coming up. That's the energy that is. This is a transition that happens in the body. So as capacity returns, your movement's going to feel lighter. As your safety rebuilds, your expression is going to be able to flow more naturally. As your energy stabilizes, this motion, this momentum I'm talking about, this becomes sustainable. So this forward motion, this forward momentum that the year of the horse is calling us into can be sustainable as you allow your energy to stabilize and you to rebuild the safety within your body. That's what it's calling for. Capacity, safety, stable energy. So let this new season be one where movement feels true, where your expression and your creativity feels grounded, and where your momentum can build without feeling this urgency or this pressure or without force. You have been prepared for this. What is this? The verse from the Bible. You were created for such a time as this, whatever it is. That's what's happening now. You are prepared. You have been through the initiation up until now. And so this new year coming to us, coming through us, coming for us is ready and it's here for you and it's been prepared for you. And if you want to walk into this new year, this year of the horse, fully resourced and fully ready for the expansion that it's calling you into, I have a few different ways you can do that with me. I mentioned before the minerals. If you're somebody who you're either been curious about human design, you're already like deep into your human design journey, your own human design journey, I highly recommend doing some of the mineral work with me. So I have a self-guided program called the Heal program. I'll put the link in the show notes. Guided. You get the testing, still send you your results and breakdown of the results and everything, but it's all self-guided. So it's just a lower investment. And if you're a self-guided person, that's a good option for you. I also have the HTMA test package, which is all one-on-one. So you get 3 months of support after you do the testing and we do the results. Now that you have a one-on-one session with me, you get one-on-one support after that. I do tie in the human design stuff to all of that. Everything that I do, every program I do is going to tie in your human design. So we'll be able to dive into that. So if you want a deeper dive in your human design, you might want to do the HTMA test package just because you get that one-on-one support for 3 months. And a lot of women like to use that to dive deeper into their human design stuff. So you can use it for that. If you want the deep recalibration work, the quantum reset is that deep embodiment container that I have. So when you're ready to stop managing your symptoms, to rebuild your foundation, it's body, it's nervous system, energetics, your identity, all of this. So your forward momentum, your forward movement is really, truly sustainable. The quantum reset. This is the deep work that I do. I also have frequency recalibration sessions where I use the Healy device to measure your energy field. And so if you're feeling off or overstimulated, if you're feeling energetically noisy, this session is going to clear the interference and restore that internal coherence so your body can regulate and land. And it's really telling. And I have a client who she did the Heal program, which is the self-guided mineral program, and then the frequency recalibration session. I'm like, I feel like I need to make this a thing because I feel like the combination of that was so potent. And she was the first one to do that with me, like to put those two things together. So anyway, that might be a new thing I'm coming up with because I feel like it was such the perfect combination of getting the minerals, doing the Healy session. Like we did some really deep recalibration stuff, which was really cool. So just an option there. I'll put everything in the show notes here. I also have, if you want just kind of a quicker, like a fast way to get clarity on your biggest energy leaks using your human design, the energy reboot session is that. So I'll put links to all that. And I tell you all of these things because this is what creates a resourced body to step into the energy of this new year with. So when you're ready to move, or you're ready to move with your whole self, I am here to walk with you there. So if you need the support and the guidance, I'm here for all of that. I hope that these 2 episodes have supported you and leading you into this energy of this new year. And I will see you next time.